Okay, so we're gonna divide complex numbers. So we've already practiced multiplying complex numbers, and we talked a little bit about conjugates. So to divide complex numbers, we need to know how to find the conjugate or what the conjugate is of the denominator. All right, so a conjugate, to refresh your memory here, for example, is if I have 2 plus 3i, then the conjugate would be 2 minus 3i, right? These two are conjugates of each other. And for example, another example is if I had 5 plus 4i, then 5 minus 4i would be its conjugate. Now, it doesn't matter if it's plus in the front or minus in the back. It could have been the other way around. It could have been 3 minus 6i, and then 3 plus 6i. So whenever we have a division problem, let's say 7 minus 5i divided by 2 minus 4i. We're going to look at the denominator. We're going to look at this, right? And that is going to determine what it is that we're going to multiply by. Now we're going to take this and we're going to just change it to plus. So that's getting the conjugate of it. So if I ask you get the conjugate, you just get the middle sign and change it. Everything else is the same. So both of these have to be the same thing. 2 plus 4i, 2 plus 4i. And again, where did I get 2 plus 4i? I got it from this, except I changed this from a minus to a plus. So when we multiply this out, this conjugate would multiply like you normally would, except there's a shortcut to it. So 2 times 2 would be 2 squared. And then I'm going to take this number here, 4. I'm going to square it, and that's going to give me 4 plus 16, which is 20. So that's my answer for this part. So when you multiply conjugates, that's the shortcut to it. So for example, on this one, I would take 3, square it, plus 6 squared. So that's 9 plus 36, which is 45. On this one, I would take 5 squared plus 4 squared, and that's 25 plus 16, that's 41. That's the answer to this multiplication. This one would be 2 squared plus 3 squared. So that's 4 plus 9, that's 13. Right, so that's the shortcut for these on the bottom. And the reason you can do that shortcut is because they are conjugates. That's how they're related to each other. Now in the numerator, it's not that simple. There you do need to multiply everything out. So in this case, it's going to be 7 times 2. All right, let me write it over here. That's 14. 7 times 4i, that's plus 28i. Then the next term, 5i, negative 5i times 2 is going to be negative 10i. And then negative 5i times 4i is going to be negative 4 times 5 is 20. And then I squared, we must, again, make sure that you put squared on this term because this is equal to negative 1. So this negative 1 times this negative 20 is going to make it a plus 20. Right? And that's going to combine with that 14 in the front. In the middle, you're going to have plus 28, but minus 10, so it's going to be plus 18. This 14 and 20 combined to give you 34. And you still have that 18i, so then you're going to have 34 plus 18i. Now, if you notice, these three numbers here are all divisible by what? Let's see, 2 for sure. Any higher? No. So it's going to be 17 plus 9i over 10. So again, each of these numbers was all divisible by 2. They all have to be divided by the same number. If you cannot divide all of them by the same number, then you don't do it. Okay, so then that's your final answer there. Okay, let's do another example. All right, so same idea. Let's do 2 plus 3i divided by 1 minus 2i. All right, so I need to figure out what is it that I'm going to multiply by. And of course, like I said, you're going to look at the denominator. Get the conjugate of the denominator. So the conjugate of this denominator is 1 plus 2i. And I'm going to use that on both the numerator and the denominator. So for the denominator, there's a shortcut, 1 squared plus 2 squared, right? And a lot of you have asked or will ask, is this always going to be plus? Is this always going to be plus? Well, yeah, I'm just taking the numbers without the sign. So here it's 2, so I'm just taking the 2. And it would have, if this was a plus or a minus, it doesn't matter. I'm just taking the number part and I'm squaring it. And the reason that it doesn't matter is because of that. I'm raising it to the second power. So when you raise to the second power, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive no matter what. So even if you wanted to do a negative 2 here, it still become a 4. So 1 plus 4 is 5 for your denominator. And then you got to do the top part the way you normally would, the long way basically. You know, you're going to multiply it out. So 2 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2i, so that was 2. This is going to be 4i. Then the 3 times 1 is 3i. And the 3i times 2i is plus 6i squared. Always squared on that last one. This one is combining like terms there. 7i. This is going to become a minus 6. And you got a 2 in the front. So it's going to be 2 minus 6. So minus 4 plus 7i. So negative 4 plus 7i. Now, is there something that divides all three numbers? The 4, the 7, and the 5? Nope. I am done. And that's it. All right. I'm going to do one more example. Okay, so let me see. 3 plus I divided by 2 minus 2i. So what am I going to multiply by? Again, look at your denominator. Find the conjugate of the denominator. The conjugate of the denominator is the exact same numbers, so 2 and 2i, but the opposite operation. So instead of minus, plus, I'm going to do the same for the numerator. Okay, shortcut for the denominator. You take these two numbers and you square them, no matter what they are. In this case, they were both 2's, but it doesn't matter. And you're going to add them. So that's going to be 4 plus 4, which is 8. So my denominator is 8. This on top needs to be done the long way. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 2i is plus 6i. I times 2, 2i, and then I times 2i is 2i squared. Combining like terms, these are easy to combine. That is 8i. This I squared is a negative 2. I'm sorry, a negative 1. So that makes this a negative 2, minus 2. And then these two combine, finally. So it's 4 plus 8i. So I go 4, 8i. Now, 4, 8, and 8. Is there a number that divides them all? The answer is yes. So when a number divides all three, then you simplify them by that number. So 4 becomes a 1, this becomes a 2, and this becomes a 2. So my final answer is 1 plus 2i over 2. And you're done. All right, and that is dividing complex numbers. And again, you have to use conjugates. This is the conjugate, right? The conjugate.